I see we're a rather small group, probably because it's August and in the North Hemisphere, not many people are working, but I think that's great because I tried to make the session super interactive. So the smaller the group, the more we'll have a chance to share. And to get started, I will share my screen. Can you see it? Yes? Okay, great. Perfect. So thank you for the intro, Alex. I won't introduce myself again, but I've been running Bridge for the past 4 years, and we started very, very small. When I joined, we were just 4 people, and now we're a team of 18. So a lot has happened in the meantime. And as you know, a team is one of the most important things for a small company, for a startup. And actually most investors confess that the team is much more important than the idea itself, and that they usually bet on teams. So that's why I want to bring this topic today. But before listening to myself speak for a while, I wanted to do a quick round of the room just to map who is here today. I won't invite you to describe again your projects. I know you do that a lot in the checkpoints and maybe in other masterclasses. So I'd love to hear just your name and where you're calling from today. What I called your team status. So I would love to hear if right now you are a solo founder, you have already 1 or 2 co-founders, or you're looking for one, or you have already early employees or volunteers, freelancers. Basically, what's the status of the people working on your company? And then I'd love to hear in just a few words, what are your expectations for the call? Why did you join reading this name of high-performing team management, company culture? What are you hoping to learn today? And once you're done, I will invite you to nominate the next person that go after you. You can just read the name on the participants list, and then we can have an idea of who's here today. And I will start with Michel.
A second. Have technical problems.
You're having a problem?
Yeah, with my screen. I'll come back in a minute, yeah?
Okay, no problem. So then maybe Afia, I know you're not really a participant, but maybe you can introduce yourself and say why you're joining. Yes.
Hi everyone, my name is Afia and I am a member of the Bridge team. I work in the community with Alex and I'm very excited about this masterclass. Looking forward to learning more about corporate Nice to meet all of you.
Is it just me or the connection is not great?
Hello, Julie. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's a bit.
I think connection's great, but I think Afia, we are not hearing you properly.
I don't know if you can hear me.
It's not amazing, but that's fine. Maybe Afia, because I know you also have your own company in Ghana, Student Hub. Maybe you can write in the chat what's the status with Student Hub. Do you have co-founders? Do you have a team already?
I'll do that.
Cool. So that then I can take you as an example. Thank you. So then maybe we can hear from Rafa. Nope. Okay. Michel, did you solve your screen challenge? Michel? Can you hear us at least? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, no, I'm mentoring different startups,
Yeah.
at different stages. And as you said, teams are very important. And in many companies, they don't dedicate sometimes enough time about thinking about that. I spend a lot of time doing that. So I'm curious to see your experience, to listen to your experience, to listen to experience of other people who have been starting their own company. So I'm looking for new insights that I eventually can use in the companies I am mentoring. Yeah, that's all.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe Akshay, you can go next.
Yeah, I'm Akshay. I'm speaking from Delhi, India. But my startup is registered in Estonia through e-residency. I'm also an Estonian e-resident. Right now, my company, I'm the founder, but my company has an investor now. We started in Bridge for Billions. We were just brainstorming ideas, but now we have an investor. I have two employees right now. One is a growth hacker, and another one is a sales specialist. And I have few AI freelancers at this moment. And my expectation from this is I have focused a lot on building a great workplace environment, and that is one of the reasons behind which I created my own startup. It wasn't just to make money or to work in the field of artificial intelligence, but be an example in terms of how how a workplace environment should be. And I want to take away things which you can implement in my company to make it even better through you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Akshay. Theo, do you want to introduce yourself? Or you're fine? Okay, I guess we can start then. I hope we'll have a kind of a better connection because I have a second round of questions for you before even starting. I would love to hear from your perspective, what is team culture? How would you define it with your own words, or just, give us a few ideas? Maybe Akshay, you can pick up where you left it.
Okay. If I'm not pretty sure if I maybe understand the question well. Maybe English is not my first language, but I can share what I probably do, or what I probably do to maintain team culture. So team culture is very much linked with the mental well-being of employees and the productivity as well. So it's extremely important. I saw some researches from MIT which presented the outcome that when employees are intrinsically motivated, they perform better. And in companies where people are forced to work or threatened to work or misbehaved all the time, attrition rate is high, and even the people who work do not put in a good perspective while building the product. So in my company, team culture is about giving more importance to other employees more than myself, even despite me being a founder, and also speaking only when necessary. And I always look at myself as someone who's at the bottom of the pyramid, and I make sure of it that my employees are very comfortable while working here instead of being dominated due to the hierarchy.
Totally. Thank you so much, Akshay. You picked up on super interesting topics about self-management and alignment and being proactive, autonomous. And those are lots of things that we'll cover today. So this is great. And I really liked your definition.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to try? Michelle or Efia or Rafa?
I would say the way we work together, that being things that we share, and also the ways we accept the difference among ourselves, but we share at the end of the day something in order to achieve something together. Like the values, the rules, the habits. Yeah.
Totally. So leveraging different skills and differences for a common goal or purpose. Amazing. Maybe Efia, you want to give your definition? If your connection is working. Okay, otherwise we can go forward. I think it's really a mix of everything that you said. I found this one online that I really liked that says organizational culture is the sum of values and rituals which serve as glue to integrate the members of an organization. And I find it interesting, this glue concept, because as I see it, it's as if around me I have a huge bubble, which is coming from my past experiences, my ways of reacting, my culture, my culture from my country, I mean, what I've experienced, my education, etc. And then all the people working on the project around me have their own bubbles. And where it overlaps, it's the company culture that we've created together. So I think we can start with this as a definition. And why should you care? Why would it be important for you? It is really important, especially nowadays, where everything is transparent, or most of the things are extremely transparent. You've probably heard about the huge polemic about Uber, the CEO of Uber being super sexist and having some inappropriate behaviors in the company. And it was all over the media, and everybody started, not everybody, but many people started actually boycotting Uber and not using their services because of it. So I think that really illustrates that company culture defines your company's internal and external identity. So people will perceive you differently for having a good company culture. Is there any company that you're able to name that you think have a great company culture?
I can name one maybe.
Yeah.
There is a company named Admiral Group I work for. It's one of the largest insurance companies in UK. It has a great company culture, and that has been their focus to a great extent. I worked for them for more than a year. In that company, its CEO is among the UK's richest person there, but he does not have a special desk for himself. He does not have a special parking zone for himself. He focuses a lot on treating employees very well, and he sits in the same desk as the agent or an intern working in the company. And after lunch, whenever they distribute sweets or snacks to employees, instead of having waiters or people from restaurants serving food to around 1,000 employees, he himself kind of becomes a waiter and gives food to everyone instead of letting a waiter serve food to everyone. And he's extremely generous as well. When he retired, he spent $7 million just to gift everyone. He gave £1,000 to each and every employee when he retired before another one was nominated.
Nice. So a lot of company benefits mostly. Thank you, Akshay, for sharing. Anyone else has another? Someone said Google on the chat that it's a classic, but they have a great company culture. Great.
Sorry, please go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
There's another company I worked for, Consys. Consys had a flat company structure. It was a Norwegian company, and everybody was approachable. CEO, everybody was equal there, and we were working in a tech company, but even for developers, they had appointed a union leader so that they can represent employees, and they did not tolerate misbehavior at all. I'm sorry to say, but Steve Jobs was notorious for yelling at employees and firing them. But in Consys, they were totally against it. And not just that, they even didn't allow clients to misbehave with the customer care executives. They had a clear policy which blocked the clients whenever they abused or misbehaved with the customer care executives in that company, which is really good.
Perfect. Thank you, Akshay. And I think you're raising a super interesting point, which is that some people might say that Apple has a great company culture, and others, as you just did, might say they have an awful way of treating people. So I think what this says is that it's really not black or white. as in there is this good company culture that everyone should have, and then there is this bad one that we avoid. It's really more of what fits to several individuals. And for some people, having a very demanding, high-performing, overachieving environment might be extremely stimulating. And for other people, having an environment where there is a lot of empathy, a lot of understanding might be better. And then there is a lot of middle grounds. So yeah, definitely it defines your identity, and it will make a certain group of people want to work for you or not. And it will make a certain group of people want to buy from you or not. So you're really positioning your brand while you're building your culture. Then, of course, it can really transform employees into advocates or critics. If you do something amazing internally, for example, you were mentioning those free lunch or nice company benefits, then people are so happy about it that they tell their loved ones about it, they tell their colleagues about it. So then it becomes a virtuous circle where people are happy with their work time, and they tell other people about it, and that helps you hire more or sell more, and overall having happier employees. So it's really a retention leverage as well. It helps you keep the best people and attract other brilliant people. And that's, I'm reading the chat to see who's jumping in. Zappos, yeah, it has a great culture. Its employees take a lot of pride in it. Amazon as well. I will probably call it intense, but they're very culture driven. It gets them results. Exactly. So lots of different ways of doing it. Spotify also is a super interesting example. If you want to look on YouTube for Spotify management model, you will see that they have, Akshay was talking about flat management. We'll talk about it later. They have a very radically flat management style that helps them keep people that enjoy this management style and attract those that are looking for it. So yeah, it helps you keep your best people. And this is really crucial because in the early days, you don't have a lot to offer as a financial rewards, usually. So it's hard to offer market salaries to people, yet you do need those brilliant people to take your company forward. So having a great company culture where people can have decision-making power, people can bring new ideas on the table, people can take their own initiative, they can break the rules or make up new rules, they can have flexible work schedule, they can work remote, they can communicate with anyone in the company without having any silos. That's something that a lot of people are looking for, especially the millennial generation that have been pointed at for looking for more protagonism and meaning. So building that company culture, and more than building it, advertising it as well. There are a lot of companies, I see a lot of small startups, even in the Bridge for Billions community, that are doing amazing things internally, but nobody know about it because their team page is nothing spectacular. Their job offer doesn't explain all of that. They just say everything that the roles entails and that they're looking for people, but they don't explain what they can bring. So I think it's really important that you highlight how you can help those people grow professionally. Then culture transforms your company into a team. It's like a family, you know, when you have those running jokes or you have those rituals that you always go for coffee to that place, or you always do things that way. It's the same in a team. If you start having those values and rituals that you're sharing, it affects your behaviors and it makes you notice that you're a team. And if people externally tell you, why is your team different than other teams? You will say things that most probably are your company culture. And then the fifth point, which is probably the one that is the umbrella of all the other ones and the most important, I would say, is that it really impacts performance and employee well-being. So people in a team that are empowered will have better results and will be happier and will stick longer with you. So that's really something that you're looking for in the early days. Before we actually start, some company culture tips. I was reading an article doing research for this masterclass and I stumbled upon this. I found it super interesting. A lot of small companies now are increasingly using the term team member instead of employee, because it also creates that feeling of being together in that boat and not the hierarchical relationship of you being the one operating for me and working for me. So that's something we can think about, the importance of words. And then we have all these cliches and stereotypes in the startup world of the ping pong table or the baby foot, and employees saying there's a great culture because there is a ping pong in the office. This is really not it, and that's not what we'll talk about today. Culture is made by people, and you cannot fake the culture or mask it with some objects. The culture is really seen in the behaviors and how people interact. And then the last thing that we'll spend more time on is that there are toxic elements. There can be toxic elements in your team that will poison the culture that you spend a lot of time trying to build collectively. And those should be spotted really early on so that we can redirect the behavior to something that fits more the company culture, or cut it by having this person leave the team. That's really, really important, because without even realizing it, a lot of efforts can go in ashes very fast with people that bring toxic behaviors. And that's why also we'll talk about this more. It's important to write down in words, what is your company culture? What are your values? What are some behaviors that you think are acceptable or productive? And what are those that you don't want to see internally? Because then you'll have a reference point to bring that with a person that has those toxic behaviors. Okay, I did a bit of self-advertising here, so I'll go quickly on the slide. But these are just some screenshots of conversations we've had on the team chat in the last week, and this was a regular week. So as you can see, a lot of emojis, a lot of love, a lot of people congratulating each other, being grateful for one another's work. And this is some screenshots of our Glassdoor page. Glassdoor is an anonymous employee company review. So as you can see, everyone ranks working at Bridge for Billions 5 out of 5 and has positive insights to share. I will send the presentation later if you're interested, but the point is mostly about how can you reach, and it's still an ongoing work, of course, there are lots of things to fix, but how can you reach a point where employees will be so happy about the culture that it will be reflected on every interaction they have with one another, and they will want to share it with the external world, and therefore bringing attention to you. So I found this graph that you can see here on the screen, done by the Global Leadership Initiative, GLI, about building a great team culture. So they say that if we can ensure that those 9 things are met, then we've built a great team culture. So today what I want to do is not go through all of them because it's a lot, but I picked 4 of the ones that for me stand out the most. So we'll be talking about how to create a shared team vision and direction, which is really that glue that we were talking about, that vision that will align everyone around this common purpose. Then how can you agree on values, practices, and behaviors that are those that you want to foster internally? Then how can you set goals and measure the results? Because if you're all united in this project, it is to reach a certain objective and not just to become friends with one another or to spend a good time. So how can you make sure that you measure that you're going in the right direction? And then another one that can be really tough sometimes, it's about being mutually accountable. And then because there is so much overlap between team culture and team management, I will spend a bit of time showing you a few frameworks about the latest management model, one of them being Teal. Spotify is actually known for being one of the biggest Teal organizations. And as Akshay was saying, some frameworks about flat management and agile management. So I want to tell you a little story about purpose to get started in creating a shared team vision and direction. So imagine that you're walking in the woods, okay? And you're just walking in the wood and you see one guy with a hammer and a stone, okay? And he's just kind of carving that stone with the hammer. I don't know if you can carve it with a hammer, but I don't know the right tool name in English. So let's say it's a hammer. So this guy is working on the stone, right? And you stop and you ask him, hey, what are you doing? And he tells you, oh, I'm just carving a stone. So you're like, okay, cool. And you continue your walk into the woods. And then a little bit later, you see another guy and he's doing the exact same thing. He's alone, he has the hammer, he has one stone and he's carving the stone. But out of curiosity, you ask him, hey, what are you doing? What are you up to? And he tells you, I'm building a wall. So So you're like, oh, okay, it seems more ambitious. That's nice. And then you walk a little later and you ask another person that you cross that is doing the exact same thing with a stone, what are you doing? And they tell you, I'm building a cathedral. That's why I put the cathedral drawing on the slide. So basically, having a purpose for your team is about every employee, every co-founder, every volunteer, every person working with you to say, I'm building a cathedral instead of I'm carving a stone. And that can seem very abstract, but it's actually super, super important, because let's imagine you have a volunteer helping you with social media because you suck at social media and you don't want to be sending the tweets and the Facebook posts, etc. And so they're helping you with this. But if that person tells you, I know that I'm doing it because we want to revolutionize the health industry, it's much more inspiring and impactful than if they tell you, I'm just doing a tweet because you asked me to. So it's about really employee empowerment. So now, just to hear from you, do you feel mostly Akshay, Efia with Students Hub, Michelle, maybe that you have a clear written company purpose as of today?
Well, I did not really have a written purpose about what exactly the vision is and what the direction is. I haven't. I do have that, but it's not a very thoughtful one. It is a normal vision and mission. But one of the things which drives my company culture and purpose is, you see, I created this company in collaboration with few clients. Even before I started the company, there were some few people who wanted to create an AI company, and these were the people who used to meet me in the church every Sunday, and I used to volunteer for that church, and I saw a good workplace environment there, and I tried to replicate the same for my company, and I saw that the people over there who volunteer for the church do not go and volunteer there for money. It's because they really want to do that thing.
Yeah.
So I try to replicate the same thing in my culture. It's my focus. I make sure that the people who join my company are mission driven instead of being motivated due to money. And although I don't have that written very clearly, that is what I try to drag my team towards.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing, actually.
Thank you.
It's funny because recently we ran an anonymous survey within the team asking for a lot of questions about whether they're happy with their job and their roles, the management style, several things. And it was totally anonymous. And one of the questions, as you were saying, like you want people to come working with you for the mission rather than for the compensation, although we all know that we do need money to live and to have a decent retribution for our work. But
right.
We asked everyone in the company, what is the number one reason you are working at Bridge for Billions or at your company? And they had to pick between a multiple choice between work environment, management style, mission, compensation, relationship with manager, different things. And actually only one person out of 18 said compensation, which is also totally fine. But it's good to know that people are coming for the money, of course, but also to contribute to something bigger. So
right,
if you don't have, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, please go ahead, no problem.
No, you can react on.
Okay, yeah, I completely agree. I was listening to a speech by Mark Zuckerberg, and he said that if you're creating a startup, think that you'll be able to earn money, please do not start one. Figure out what you're trying to solve, and then create a startup around it. And it impacts the company to a great extent. Of course, compensation is very important, and a lot of companies give that. But I sensed the importance of it myself as I created this startup. Sorry, this is slightly personal, but the investor who is there with me right now, he's totally money focused, and at times he makes me work on projects which are not totally related to the company as well. I created boot camps, AI educational boot camps, and I worked on a few education-related projects, but that's not our main goal. But he kind of forced me to work on those projects because there was good money in it. So, and also, although I try to maintain the company culture. I cannot really control investor a lot, not control, but I cannot have a major influence on him, because basically he owns a major part of the company. So I've realized the importance of purpose, and why each and every person who joins the company should have an intrinsic motivation to follow that. Otherwise, there is a serious conflict like I am facing right now.
Totally. No, it's extremely important, not only for employees, but also for yourself. So that, as you said, like you can be offered a lot of consulting jobs. Probably if you're starting a company today, it's that you're someone brilliant that could be paid a lot more for a corporate job, but you're choosing the difficult path. So if you know why, it's easier to hold on to it. And maybe a last thing, because I like the comparison you made with Mark Zuckerberg. There is one video, a TED Talk that I really encourage you to watch, which is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. It's probably one of the most watched one. Maybe some of you know it already, but it's really, really interesting because he will explain how this why, this purpose will also attract your clients more. So to wrap up on this one, make sure that you have a written purpose that is extremely clear and easy to understand. And when you do have a team or co-founders, make sure that everyone in the company is able to say it. It can be with their own words, but I will send the link to the Simon Sinek Start With Why after the call. But make sure that everyone can word the purpose in their own words, because that's really, again, the glue that sticks all of you together. Okay, so showing you a bit a sneak peek into teal management, but we'll go more in depth into it later. Creating a shared team vision and direction should look like this. So in a sense, the company purpose is the boss. So if you embrace one of those new management models where people are more autonomous, it's more flat, it's more horizontal, then the boss is that why, it's that purpose. And everything that you do, you should ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is this helping me take a step forward in the direction of the purpose? So here on the graph that you can see, the purpose is at the top, and then you have different teams contributing to the purpose, and then different individuals contributing to the teams that are contributing themselves to the purpose. And that's really, really important. Hi, Jose and Maurice. If you're not speaking, I would invite you to mute your mics. Maybe I can do it for you. But if you do have a question, feel free to jump in. And welcome. So yeah, this is what the model looks like for flat management. So the purpose is at the top, the teams are contributing to the purpose, individuals to the team. That can seem very abstract, especially at a stage where you're probably only 1 or 2 people, but you will see that it grows very fast when it starts growing. And this is extremely, extremely important, because the danger with having such a greatly defined and inspiring purpose is that sometimes also people will come to you just because this purpose speaks to them and they want to contribute to that purpose, but they're not ready to contribute with the skills that are necessary to reach that purpose. So to give you a very concrete example, last summer, we had an intern come to help us, to help our team. And he was so passionate during the interviews. He really he understood our mission, our purpose. He wanted to contribute to it. But then he was about to join a team that would work on community building. And that's not something he was familiar with at all. Not being familiar is okay. It's about the learning curve. But he was also not ready to learn, because the actual day-to-day of what would make him contribute to the purpose, he was not ready to get into that, to get into data and speaking with people and engaging with them and figuring out what they want. So it's really important that when you interview people, not only you check if they want to, they really buy in and understand this purpose and want to join the boat, but that they are also convinced that they want to join or to start a sub-team that will help this purpose. And this sub-team can be your tech team or your marketing team or your operations team or any skills that you need internally. Any reactions or questions about the purpose model? Nope. Okay. So just to illustrate it, what I did is that, I've put it for our team. And again, I know we've grown a lot, and for you that can be a bit abstract because you have less people on board. But basically, the purpose is at the top. We want to democratize access to quality entrepreneurship support, if I had to put it in one sentence. And then we have 4 sub-teams that contribute to this purpose. The product people from tech and design, operations, running the program, doing community. You probably know most of us by now. The marketing team, trying to make sure that we're known, we're out there. And then the sales team doing some partnership with corporates. And every individual that you can see below the pictures, they are contributing to that team that contributes to the purpose. And that's very, very important, that everyone shares the vision and the direction. Okay, then another thing that's extremely, extremely important for team culture is to identify what are your team's values. And maybe a year or 2 ago, I would have found this extremely abstract because I thought values was something linked to, I don't know, education or religion or big institutions like this. But actually, we had a friend of mine who's also a team management consultant come for a day and a half, and helped us define our team values. And there really has been a before and an after for us, in the sense that now we had a compass, a tool that helps us communicate and say out loud when things don't work or when they do work. So taking again the metaphor that I used earlier, each of you, Akshay, Maurice, Theo, Efia, you have your own values that come from your education, your experience, your beliefs, exactly, your aspirations. And it's like a bubble around you that you carry everywhere without noticing it. And then when you team up with other people to work on something, this bubble part of it doesn't overlap, but part of it does overlap. And this overlapping part is really what are your real team's values. So what I would encourage you to do, and I can send more material on this later, is to do a team workshops, to really block a day or half a day. And I know it can be hard for early stage entrepreneurs, to sit with your co-founder, if you have one, with your team, if you're already hiring a few people, and talk about what have been in the past, the behaviors from colleagues that you really appreciated in your past jobs, so that you remove the pressure of talking about your day-to-day. What have been the worst conflicts, the worst work conflicts that you've had, and why? And try to dig really about what it says. For instance, if I say that my worst conflict is that I was given a big project, and then I was struggling a bit to complete it, and someone said, you know what, Julie, I'm going to take back the project. This will be easier. I'll just do it for you. And if I'm feeling really, really bad after that, it's because the trust was given and was taken back. So then I can deduct from that behavior that one of my core values that I really would want to see reflected at work is trust. If you trust fully. If you half trust, then you should say it out loud and help me do the project instead of taking it back later. So that's just an example. But basically, it's to tell you that values are something very concrete. They come from behaviors. So if you map the behaviors that you like, the behaviors that you dislike, and then you group them, you cluster them into clusters that have similarities, you can work on that content with your team to take your 3 core values. So we did that work with our team at Bridge. We might refresh them actually this summer. And our 3 team values are initiative, empathy, and resilience. And right now, I don't want to take too much time on this step, so I'm just showing you the 3 words. But what we wrote a charter of values where we define each of those concepts, what it means to us to take initiative, to be empathetic, to be resilient. And we also write a few bullet points of real life situations where we can show initiative or be empathetic. And then when a conflict happens in the team, or when something goes wrong because we don't have the right results, we can use that to not make it personal and to make it about what unites us, what is that glue and those company values. So for instance, if someone said that they would work a Monday until 10 p.m. or until they can solve an issue or a problem, and they didn't do it and they didn't tell us anything about why they didn't do it, we can start a conversation by saying we were a bit hurt because that was against our value of resilience. So that's really a tool, a management tool that can help you in your day-to-day to make sure that you're going in the right direction. Anyone think that they've defined already their company values internally? Maybe from people who just joined us, like Maurice, and I don't know who else was there. Jose? Jose is a mentor, I know. So, okay, I'll go forward then. I have more questions for you later. Then another one of the very important pillars from the Global Leadership Initiative. Oh, I have a message in the chat. Let me check. How would you define value? Okay, very good question, Maurice. Perfect. So basically, a value is, it's like a compass. That's really the metaphor I like the most. That helps you make choices. So imagine that you have a huge deal that is offered to you, but it goes a bit against your moral values. Well, the choice of accepting it or not accepting it will be a direct consequence of your own values. It will be a behavior that illustrates what is your inner compass. So this is how I like to define values. There are this compass that drive behaviors. So since values drive behaviors, if you look at behaviors that you like and you dislike, then in the shadow of it, you can see what are your values. Does it make sense? Or it's a bit abstract? It's a topic I really like, Maurice, so if you want, I can send you also more information in the community after this call. Cool, perfect. Then another one of the pillars from the Global Leadership Initiative about team culture, it's about setting goals and measuring results. And here I will go very quickly on it because now this is part of the Bridge for Billions program of defining your objectives and key results. But basically there is this methodology that was created, not really created, but popularized by Google that is called OKR. Have you heard the word already, OKR? Michelle says yes. Okay, so it means it stands for objectives and key results. I'm sure you've all heard about KPIs. So OKRs are, it's a bit the best of a lot of worlds. So it's a mix between KPIs and objectives and purpose, etc. So it's a way of measuring that you're going in the right direction and of setting very ambitious goals for yourself and your teams. So it's made from three different parts. The O, the objective. Usually you will set OKRs for the year to come, and then quarterly ones to measure if you're also going in the right direction. So your strategic objective for the year will be something very, very, very ambitious. For instance, being the most well-known health company worldwide would be a big O. And then it's declined into KRs that stand for key results. And the KRs are what are you going to measure to make sure that you're the best or the most well-known health company in the world. So KR number one would be when we ask people about what health company they know, 8 out of 10 will say our name. KR number two would be we've reached more than 1,000 clients. So every KR is something that's measurable that will help you measure if you've achieved the O. So it's a whole methodology, and I could spend the whole masterclass talking about it. It's used by all the, not all, but a lot of the leading startup or big companies today, like Netflix, Slack, LinkedIn, Samsung, Accenture, Google, Yahoo. You can see them on the screen. So I would really encourage you to learn more about objectives and key results. There's a really, really great website that I can share later. And think about, do we really have objectives? Does everyone know on a day-to-day what they're working towards and why they're doing everything that they're doing? Because this why is also what will help you engage yourself and your team better. So then another pillar is about accountability and being mutually accountable. So once you've defined your purpose and you know what are your team values and you have your objectives for the year, everyone is ready to work. They have everything in their hands to do the work and reach the objective. But then how do you make sure that you have very, very fast feedback loops and that everyone is accountable towards those big objectives? That's okay, Michelle, if you have to leave. We're recording, so you can catch up later. Thank you for telling us. So yeah, how do you make sure that you're accountable? There are many, many different ways to do it. I'll just tell you a few ways that we use internally at Bridge to make sure that we're accountable. I'm sure many of you use some internal company chats such as Slack or similar ones. I don't know the name of the competitors. So on there you can install an extension that will help you do daily stand-ups, or you can do it in person every day. So daily stand-ups are about saying every day what you've been doing the day before. Okay, so yesterday I sent an email to this and that person. I worked on the fundraising round. I started the crowdfunding strategy. It's about saying what you will achieve today. And then if you have any blockers or challenges. And there you can use the blockers or challenges to call out people from your team as well. So for example, if I want to get done something, but I'm waiting for something from someone in the team, I can say in my blocker, well, Michelle didn't give me the email of the contact, so I'm blocked. So this is something that helps that we publish every morning to the whole team. So everyone can see what everyone else is up to. And that helps for accountability, because on a day-to-day, you can see if people achieve their sprints from the day before. But at the same time, it's not really a top-down approach, because we don't have anybody telling everyone what they should do of their day. Everyone chooses what they focus their day on, knowing very well what is the purpose and what is the objective for the month or the quarter. So they can choose what to do with their day, and they can report on it. And then if at some point someone is doing some things that are really not aligned with the purpose, then a teammate or a manager can pitch in and ask them why they're focusing so much energy and attention on that task that is not aligned with the vision. So that helps having those continuous feedback loops. And then another version of the daily stand-up that is more on a weekly format is what we call internally the sprints. It comes initially from the tech development and product and design world. So sprints are about gathering once a week. We do it on Monday morning, where you will review everything that's been done the previous week. That's what you can see on the board. It's good to have a tool where you can log it. We use Trello, but you can use a lot of different tools like Asana, even an Excel spreadsheet if you prefer. So we spend a bit of time reviewing everything that's been done in the previous sprint. If we've overachieved, then great. Can we be more ambitious next week? If we've underperformed, what was the reason for it? Were we too ambitious, or at the contrary, did we not allocate the right time and resources to achieving the goal? And after reviewing the previous week, we plan the week to come. So that we can also track after a few months or even a year, we can track everything that you've been doing week after week, and what subjects you've been advancing on, and what are the subjects where you've been stagnating. And that can also be a time to celebrate and be grateful to one another for what has been achieved. Okay, before going to the next part, that is a bit more of theory about flat management models and frameworks, I wanted to ask all of you in just a few words, what do you think is needed for a happy team? And then my next question is, what do you think is needed for a high-performing team? So maybe you can answer both in one. So what do you think is needed for the team to be happy and for the team to be high-performing? Okay, I'm gonna call you out. Maurice, can you hear us, and can you answer either in writing or out loud? Oops, sorry. It seems we have mic problems today. Okay, Akshay maybe? Oh, he's answering in writing. Music? For a happy team, yes, totally. If the team likes music, that can make the team happy. Thank you, Theo. What about a high-performing team? Music as well? Akshay, do you have some thoughts to share? Sorry, I'm always asking you.
Oh, no, it's okay. My pleasure. Okay. According to me, for a happy team, well, this may sound dangerous, but I think for a happy team, it's important that we do not always pick up the mistakes each and every time someone makes a mistake. While working in a team, it's obvious that people will make mistakes at least once in 6 months, once in a month, or at times even every day. It's very important that we do not pick up those mistakes each and every time, not give feedback immediately, at times in a harsh manner. It's at times good to overlook those and also present it in a constructive way at the right time. So that builds a happy team. And also, even when the team makes a mistake, I make sure of it that that pressure does not fall on them. I take responsibility because I'm the CEO. So that is what keeps my team happy. Even when the team falls, I'm the person taking the blame, and I try to fix everything without impacting my team much. And I try to present the errors in a thoughtful manner at the right time. And according to me, so that's my view. I may be wrong. It may sound dangerous to a few companies who are totally database and they always take a note of each and every action of the employee and give feedback for hours at time. So that may look dangerous to some, but this is my perspective. And second thing is, for a highly productive team, what I've realized is that people work best when I'm able to align their tasks with their interests. So, so I always align tasks to people. I always give tasks to people well aligned with their interests, and I also understand that at times they are not very good at it. But the best part about it is that the rate of growth is higher when I align tasks to people according to their interest, compared to the rate of growth when I align tasks to people they are actually good at, but have no interest in it. So so that's one of the things. The second thing is that I also observed that at times it's difficult for me to align tasks according to their interest, because those tasks are not necessarily a part of the project. So in such cases, I provide them with resources which they can use at their own time to learn more about their passion. And that keeps them engaged in my company, and that increases the performance massively.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing. Picking up on your first remark, what happens if you pick up the mistake every time in the moment?
People started becoming narcissistic. People start becoming narcissistic at times. And they, when I give feedback each and every time, if I'll give feedback each and every time, while I worked in several companies, that happened to many employees, and I realized they hated going to meetings. When feedback is given each and every time, employees hate going to meetings, and also they become resistant to even conversations with the managers. They start avoiding conversations with the managers, which is not good. And also they start getting more frustrated, and they slowly become narcissistic as well. So therefore, I think at times it's good to overlook them and share feedback only when it's really necessary, and as much as it be possible, according to me, if it can be fixed by myself or the manager itself or the person responsible for the team management, it's best for that person to fix it before attacking the person responsible for the task directly.
That's funny, because I'm going to switch the order of what I had planned to pick up on this. I find it super interesting, because you say that they get discouraged if you pick up on the mistake all the time, and that you should always give them feedback when that's necessary. And that is a tool I wanted to show all of you today, the 5 dysfunctions of a strong team. It's a super interesting tool of the 5 dysfunctions pyramid. And what I'm hearing, maybe I don't know the whole context actually, but what I'm hearing in what you say is that you don't want to pick up on unproductive behaviors or bad results, probably because of fear of conflict. And they're not okay to be put on the spot and to be shown as having failed the task, because also that they're not okay being vulnerable in the workplace. And basically this tool is about identifying what makes a poorly performing team and what makes a strong team, which will be the contrary of it. And if you don't have a stage of the pyramid, then you're not able to build upon it. So if you don't have vulnerability, even if the leaders that need to demonstrate that they're not superhero and they don't know everything and they have to learn also, and they have to be vulnerable, then you cannot build on that. So I will share the tool with you, but I think that can be interesting, because I think it can be possible. I'm not saying it's the best way, but it can be possible to create a culture where every mistake is pointed out, but in such a positive way of being aligned with the purpose and wanting everything for the purpose to happen, that then it will become also part of the culture of having those very regular feedback loops and being better for it. Let me check what's up in the chat. Sometimes it's hard to have understanding and empathy in a team. Yeah, totally. Okay, I see we're running a bit over time. I'm sorry. If you need to go, I think that's okay. It's being recorded anyway. I'll continue maybe for 15 minutes to show you a few management models, and this is really the more theoretical parts, but I would understand if you need to run by now. So I wanted to show you quickly this overview of teal management that I will explain, and what it means, because it's a management model that we're trying to embrace at Bridge 4 Billions, and that gives great results and makes team happier. And to tell you what it is, I want to tell you a bit of the story. So in this graph, you can see at the bottom left this red organization. This is some this is coming from a book from a French guy, Frédéric Laloux. He wrote a book called Reinventing Organizations, where he theorizes the history of organizational management. And he explains that we've gone from red company to orange to green, and now teal companies. So red companies are the typical, you could think of Europe in the 19th century during the Industrial Revolution. Companies where, so for example, you can think of Ford and Fordism, people being in the factory creating some small parts of a bigger car. It's organizations where the organigram and the hierarchy are very, very strong, and the main leverage being used are power and structure. And the main reason why employees are here, it's for the financial reward, for the check at the end of the month. We haven't been replacing each organizational model one after the other. So there are still some red companies today operating. But every type of company could be prototyping with every model. So if we continue the example with Ford, you could give more decision-making power and ownership to the factory employees, so that they self-organize the accountability, the accountancy, sorry, or the work hours or the shifts, and then you would give them more power. Anyway, so this was the red organization based on power and structure. Then maybe some of you know about the American series Mad Men. It's about an advertising company in New York in the 50s. So Mad Men is the typical orange company, meaning that people are not only there for the check at the end of the month, they're also here to climb the ladder of the corporate ladder and gain more power. So their reason to be there is financial, and it's also a social status reason. So those orange organizations, they're very good at fostering innovation because people want to climb the ladder. And they usually have a meritocracy model, but at the same time, those are the company where there's a lot of politics, internal politics. People want to be at the top. People will stomp on their colleagues to be at the top. So it can be really hard to foster employee well-being in such an environment. Then you have the green companies that are the typical family-owned businesses. So green companies tend to have a very clear purpose, to share the same values, to promote a lot empowerment and growth. But it has the same issue that a family has. So I don't know about yours, but there's a lot of conflict avoidance because people are being very nice to one another. They're sharing the same values. So then they have that fear of provoking a conflict and not getting, and for everything to blow and to break a trust. So maybe in the model that you were describing, Akshay, you're acting a bit as a green organization, which is totally fine. we're actually transitioning from being a green organization to trying to be something that is more based on results. So the idea with Teal is basically to take the best of both worlds, to have a lot of values, empowerment, and purpose, but at the same time, very good results based on a lot of trust. So Teal is about sharing the power, the decision-making power, and having more of a decentralized network of individuals that each have their own role and can take decisions for themselves. Okay. So the purpose of going Teal, someone at the beginning, I think it was Michelle, talked about intrinsic motivation. Well, going Teal is about activating a transcendental motivation, they call it. So being motivated for something bigger than just the gaining power or the financial retribution, but also knowing that you're trying to build something bigger than yourself, and that you are not motivated because someone tells you to do something, but because you intrinsically want to be doing that thing. So it also generates ownership. People are acting like it is their own company because they understand the ins and outs of it and they want to contribute to it. And it helps to manage people with agility because it's so flat. Then we can have very, very easy and fast feedback loops. And also it helps measuring contributions and breaking silos in between teams. The difference with traditional organizations, well, as we said, people have a joy and fulfillment in getting things done. They do it for the joy of it. They can use their talents to contribute to a bigger mission. They are empowered to make important decisions. And they are accountable for what they are bringing. Now, very quickly, I wanted to tell you about holacracy. So probably you've learned management being the right side of the screen model, being a hierarchy. So there's a pyramid with the CEO at the top, and then the VP, the middle management, the employee, and the staff. Well, holacracy is a model that is trying to break this traditional pyramidal hierarchy. And I was mentioning Spotify earlier. They're one of the most well-known companies that has successfully implemented holacracy on a big scale because now they're about 600 employees, I think. So basically what it consists in is having circles instead of pyramids and having a super circle that contains sub-circles. For example, you can think of a big marketing team as a super circle. And then each sub-circle is dedicated to a function, but they're responsible and they can take their own decisions for everything related to that function. They don't have to ask anyone external to tell them what to do. And then inside a function, there are different roles. So everyone can do their own task, thrive by doing it. And those circles intercorrelate. So you'll have circles also for fixed functions like HR, like professional development, and they will interrelate. Maybe I will skip this one and keep it for later because I know we're going short on time. But I really invite you to read more, if not the book, some articles about it, about this book from Lalou, Reinventing Organizations. He also talks about something that I think is super interesting, which he calls whole being, which is about coming to work as a whole. So in the old world, I would say, people would go to work and put on their work mask on before entering the office and being a different person inside the office and then going back home and being themselves again. So the idea behind whole being is about being the same person inside and outside of work and bringing also your fears and your vulnerabilities and everything that you're trying usually to leave at the door, to bring it inside the organization to see how you can be more performing like this and leverage actually those things that you were saying that you were seeing as weaknesses to be a better professional. And as a conclusion, this is a graph also that I really like. Your goal as a CEO, a founder, a manager is to keep everyone, including yourself, in the learning zone. So in this graph, you can see that the outer circle is a panic zone. So when people have too much to do on their plate, or they're not sure what is the vision, or they're not sure what's the objective, they can get into this panic zone because there is so much to do and so little time and so little resources. The learning zone is where you're challenging yourself, and it is hard, but you're hanging on there and you're learning by yourself and you're asking for help. And the comfort zone is the typical one where you've been employee for a big multinational for years and you're just doing your act of presence and not actually bringing results. And this is also very dangerous. Probably it's not the problem that you're faced with today because you're trying to build teams, but it can come very fast that after 6 months, a year and a half, people get into this comfort zone and they stop taking initiative. And there your role should be to gently push them back into the learning zone. I think I'm going to skip that because we're on a crunch, but I will post the presentation and give you more information about team dysfunctions, teal, flat management, etc. I put a slide to thank those organizations that I've used as examples or used the work of in the presentation. But before stopping, if we have 5 more minutes, I would love to hear about people that were in the room. What did you learn today? What are you living with that will help you overcome your people challenge in the next month? Efia or Akshay, if you want to go.
So I got a lot of resources to study the behavior at workplaces. I didn't know about teal management, etc. So I'll study that even more, and I'll try to implement those in my companies as well. It has been very helpful. I was trying to build a workplace environment, but it was totally abstract. It was totally abstract, and this session has helped me even measure it as well to some extent. So thank you for that.
Perfect. Efia, anything you want to bring back to Students Hub?
I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, not very loud, but we can.
Okay, then I can type. Just type instead.
You'll write it? Okay, perfect. I'll just wait then and we can have a closing. Bringing your team together to define the purpose and values. Great. Did you do that before? Have you talked about values internally, Efia? No, not yet. I would actually advise you that you bring an external facilitator to do it. I'm sure you can find people in Impact Hub Accra or in this ecosystem, because it's really hard for you as the leader to try to make them talk about behaviors they dislike, because maybe some of them are coming from you as well. So it's really good to have a sounding board that is an external person that can help you unlock that. And also have different formats. Like, some people are very introverted, so if you keep it in a group format where people need to share, they won't be able to open up. So try to have little one-to-ones, groups of 3, triads, you know, like changing a bit the format so that people are also okay to talk about issues. And creating an environment where team members bring their whole self. Yeah, that's really important. That's really hard because I think the whole education system in most countries is not encouraging that. Like, it's not okay to be vulnerable. It's not okay to show empathy, you know, to go forward. But when you make the switch, it's really a productive thing for productivity and well-being as well. Cool, perfect. I went a lot over time. So on that note, I want to thank everybody. You know, you can reach me in the community if you need anything. I will be posting both the recording and the presentation. And I'll send you more information about objectives, key results, the theory behind teal. Actually, Lalou is so amazing that the book is available for download on his website, and you can just give whatever you want and you can have it for free as well. So I'd encourage you to download it and try to dig into this world of teal and flat management.
Thank you so much, Julia.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you, Julie.
Bye.